station eh. Paiksi lang.
Rules and regulations, and to make sure that the NGOs understand, to make sure that those who will be getting tax benefits, tunay na NGOs, it's the first in the whole world that the government gives a private sector group the ability to give NGO certification.
On January 29, 1998, then Secretary of Finance Roberto F. De Ocampo and the PCNC Interim Chair Victoria P. Garchitorena signed a Memorandum of Agreement designating PCNC as accrediting entity to establish and operationalize a system of accreditation to determine the qualification of non-stop, non-profit corporations and NGOs for accreditation as qualified donee institutions. Since then, PCNC has been recognized not only in the country but also internationally as the preeminent certifying body of Philippine NGOs.
It used to be just the BIR evaluating and confirming whether a non-stock non-profit entity is indeed such and confer to them a certificate of tax exemption. When PCNC was created, it became a two-step task. In fact, in the past, there are a lot of entities who would say, bakit ganon mas stricto pa si PCNC kaysa kay BIR? Things like that we welcome because at least there's another eye looking into and ensuring that really it's not just saying that you are a non-stock non-profit entity. You have to live up so that the beneficiary will enjoy the benefits or the extension of the work they are doing.
Among the champions of PCNC are the volunteer peer evaluators whose expertise and years of experience guide fellow NGOs in realizing their mission more effectively. Many of its esteemed volunteer evaluators come from the PCNC certified organizations and the Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or PICPA.
When PCNC started in 1998, there was a call for volunteers coming from the networks that formed PCNC. I decided to become a volunteer at the start. It is purely because it's doing something new. If you ask me now, what makes me as a volunteer, it has become more than just policing the sector. It is also looking at how can we
Connected. This meeting is being recorded.
set the standard benchmarking in a way for the non-profit or civil society movement.
You know, being a PCNC evaluator, it always gives me a sense of fulfillment. My dream is to evaluate every PCNC accredited or those who will seek accreditation for PCNC. Actually, what keeps me going with PCNC is that even though the organization might be small, but when you see how they work, how they impacted the community that they serve, how the beneficiaries would say so many good things about them, it really inspires you. And I'm really very glad that I got involved with PCNC.
Beyond the donee institution status, PCNC accreditation is a seal of legitimacy and good NGO housekeeping.
We received our first certification in 2016. It took us 3 years to get it. One of the very best things that happened was we reorganized ourselves. We became stronger after that. We could face one another with clean conscience, that the school was in good hands, that it was administered with accountability and transparency.
We applied for certification in 2003, and we have renewed that ever since until now. Once you have your PCNC certification, that means that you are also recognized by the national government agencies.
Because of the compliance with PCNC requirements, you actually professionalize the way your foundation or your organization will be functioning. It will also be easier for those who will be coming after us to manage the foundation because the ground rules have already been there.
A lot of our systems were really not in place. So it was really PCNC rigorous regimen that could help the foundation. Definitely PCNC has been a big part in helping us to become a little bit more sustainable than we were many years ago.
We're starting a very small foundation. We have to go to an organization like PCNC. I am amazed at the work they do, and I really appreciate the recommendations because I understand that when they make recommendations, it's really just coming out from the goodness of their heart.
The PCNC board is an active participant in the NGO evaluation process. The evaluation results of each NGO is reviewed, and the approval of certification is done by the board as a collegial body.
Over the years also, policies have been developed and continue to be evolved so that we answered the requirements of the times to ensure that legitimacy and capability and sustainability of NGOs is ensured.
PCNC has remained true to its role of being a self-regulatory body to the NGO sector.
I'm very happy to say that there are many NGOs now that are being established and continue to do their work, especially with the marginalized group. So PCNC should encourage those NGOs that are having difficulty in terms, as I said, fundraising, governance, particular things that they need to submit for their accreditation. I feel that PCNC should also find out how to make the public know what these NGOs are doing and how, because of their accreditation, they've had better housekeeping, and that the people should appreciate them, and that they should be supported by the local governments or people who have a lot of resources to help communities. And I think PCNC has a big role in that sense.
I think there's a real need for us as a country to continue to nurture the spirit of citizen participation and citizen action.
My great honor to open this year's General Assembly under the inspiring theme, Echoes of Hope. Today we come together not only as organizations and individuals working in diverse fields, but we are a collective voice, resonating with the shared desire to build a more just, equitable, compassionate, and empowered society. If we commit to cooperation across sectors, across generations, and across communities, we will not only localize the SDGs, we will partake in building the future now. This is what it means to turn hope into action. Let us co-create futures where no one is left behind. Let hope be action, organized, inclusive, and values-based.
culture of domacy must be marginalized or left behind. Every local genius is the basis of national strength. Hindi kaya naman Pilipina kung sila yung magsugaw, kung sila yung magsururay, kung sila yung mantaya. They are marginalized. They are ignored. But once they raise the most marginalized, lahat tayo aangat.
Kailangan mahalaga yung cultural mapping, pero huwag din natin tanggalin yung komunidad, no? University, LGU, at pamayanan, kasi sila talaga yung dapat nasa sentro ng ating mga efforts.
We need to start the next generation of PCNC non-profits. And in order to do that, there is actually a leapfrog happening. We're all doing the work for the past few decades that are tackling the present. But the future generations of Filipinos, completely different profile. The hope now is, can we provide that hope so they can be activated?
If we are speaking about hope, I hope it is within a community that trusts each other and that trusts that we are all here for the common good.
Everything comes from the God within. We have a shared divinity. So if we remember that we have a shared life, then we will truly be proud Filipinos.
And you're proud of your organization, your community, your country. You'll be committed to it. And commitment always brings about excellence. So this atin sa panahon. Being proud of yourself, of your organization, of PCNC, will make you commit yourself. And its commitment will always bring about excellence. This is what I mean as Filipino perspective.
Jadi lang. Post na wag na to. Para gahapon to. Kanira ako kay Lindot.
Alright, good afternoon everyone! Hello po, can you hear me?
Yes po.
Ayan,
Yes po, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, thank you po. Welcome to the PCNC webinar, Secure Compliance Corporate Governance Updates for NPOs. We are delighted to have you with us today. This session is designed to equip NGOs with essential knowledge on the latest SEC corporate governance updates, helping strengthen your capacity to comply with regulations while upholding transparency, integrity, and confidence in service. So I am Dasin Cage Makaraan, PCNC Communications and Learning Associate, and I will be your host for this session. So, are you ready to secure your compliance? Send us a like or heart reaction if you are ready. Ayan. Thank you so much. Now, let us begin. Let us start with a quick warm-up lang po, no? So, we would love to have the engagement or the participation of everybody. So, we would love to know where you're joining us from, no? Please take a moment to answer our quick poll, no? We are launching that in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Meron na ba? Alright. So please answer our poll. Are you from NCR, Luzon, outside NCR, Visayas, or Mindanao? And then, the other question is your organization PCNC accredited? Okay? Member na po ba tayo ng growing PCNC family? Okay? So, we would love to know. At baka meron pa tayo rito ma-invite, no? to join the growing PCNC network. Alright. So, once again po, yung poll natin, our poll is available right now. Yeah, may mga nakakapagsagot na po. Ay, na-stop ata siya. Hold on. Sino ba lang sa? Sino pong hindi niyo marinig, ma'am? Ayan. Huwag mo muna. Okay, so once again, we are relaunching the poll. Sorry for that error, no? Okay. So, ayan, medyo marami from the National Capital Region. Ayan. Humahabol ang Luzon, Visayas, and of course, Mindanao. Alright? So, ending the poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay? Quick lang naman, no? So, yeah, showing you the results. Okay? So, most of our participants here are from NCR. Wow! At syempre, hindi papatalo ang Luzon. And then, of course, Visayas. At syempre, meron din tayong representatives from Mindanao. So, sa ating lahat, magandang hapon po. Maayong hapon. Ano po ba? Meron po ba akong manis? Okay. And then, most of us, ayan, sa 49 sa 83 na sumagot, 49 are PCNC at yung iba ay siguro pinakailangan pang makilala si PCNC, no? Alright. Okay. Now, before we dive in, let's do a quick emotional check-in. Okay? So, how are you feeling today? Kamusta po kayo? Are you excited? Curious? Okay? So, please rate yourself from 1 to 5. Okay po? Launching the poll in 3, 2, 1. Ayan. So, 1 to 5. 5 being the highest. How excited are you? Buhay na buhay ba ang mga dugo natin? Okay, so sana naman. Kasi we would love to have your attention, your energy. Okay, because throughout this afternoon, magkakasama tayo to learn more about the updates, no, of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Alright? So thank you for answering, ending the poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So most of us 4, 5. Maraming salamat sa mga 5. May sumagot ng 1. So baka kinakailangan ni sir or ni ma'am mag-zumba tayo, no, para mabuhay ang kanyang dugo. Okay, so this is a webinar. Okay, if you're comfortable, pwede po kayong mag-on ng inyong camera, okay? Pwede naman po kayong kumain. Do anything to keep you, let's say, focused or energized during this session. Alright? So, thank you very much. Now, before we proceed, we would like to share a few reminders. First is please keep your mic muted throughout the session. Okay? So, we would love for the participants na nakamute po tayo para wala tayong unnecessary noise. Participate respectfully in the chat and the question and answer portion. Now, here's a reminder, the presentations will be shared. So we have the clearance or permission of the team from Securities and Exchange Commission to distribute the presentations. Okay, so no need to screenshot or record. Okay, the presentations will be shared after this webinar. And most importantly, stay present. Give yourself the gift of learning. Alright? So, to officially open our session, it is my honor to invite Mr. Felix A. Tonag, the Executive Director of the Philippine Council for NGO Certification, to deliver his opening remarks. Sir Felix?
Thank you very much, Dustin. Commissioner Rogelio V. Quevedo, Attorney Dania Luis P. Macadino, Attorney Shaila Joyce P. Bilarmino, the outreach team of the Anti-Money Laundering Division of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the representatives of NGOs across the country. I think we are more than 500 participants now who are here 500? Present. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
2% raming dalaw.
At PCNC, we always say that as NGOs, our social license, quote unquote, to operate is built entirely on the foundation of trust. Our main currency is trust, without which we won't be able to attract donors and partners and earn the confidence of our beneficiaries. However, in an increasingly complex regulatory landscape, trust must be reinforced by transparency and rigorous compliance with regulations and standards. Today's webinar focuses on two important aspects of NGO governance. The first is on the 2019 NPO guidelines, which serves as our roadmap to ensure that NPOs are not utilized for activities that run counter to their noble missions, protecting the integrity of the sector as a whole. And secondly, on the beneficial ownership disclosures, which is a crucial mechanism in the global fight.
Ayan, sir, na-mute ka lang po. Okay.
Hindi ba ako naka-ano? Sorry. The beneficial ownership disclosure, which is a crucial mechanism in the global fight against money laundering and terrorism financing. By understanding who truly controls and benefits from our organizations, we demonstrate our commitment to the highest levels of accountability. Our goal today is not merely to discuss rules, but more so to empower you, the NGOs. From a risk management standpoint, regulatory compliance should not be seen as a burden, but as a badge of credibility that tells our donors, our beneficiaries, and of course the government, that our organization is professional, transparent, and trustworthy. So we encourage everyone to participate actively, ask questions, and take this opportunity to clarify any concerns directly with our regulators from the SEC. And so on behalf of PCNC and the SEC, thank you very much for your unwavering commitment to serving your communities. So let us have a productive and insightful session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Felix. A round of virtual applause to our Executive Director. All right. Now, let us warmly welcome the Supervising Commissioner of the SEC Enforcement and Investor Protection Department, Mr. Rogelio V. Quevedo, as he shares his message with us.
Mr. Felix A. Tacanog, Executive Director of the Philippine Council for NGO Certification from the PCNC, my fellow public servants from the Securities and Exchange Commission, members and partners of PCNC, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Securities and Exchange Commission, I thank PCNC for organizing this important webinar and for its continued collaboration with the SEC to strengthen corporate governance in the non-profit sector, particularly against money laundering and terrorist financing abuse. Today's discussion on the revised beneficial ownership disclosure rules and the 2019 NPO guidelines is not simply about meeting regulations. It is about building the strong foundations of governance within organizations that are so important to our country's social and economic growth. As of March 2026, there are nearly 107,000 non-stock corporations in the Philippines, accounting for approximately 18% of all active entities registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission of the Philippines. These non-profit organizations are trusted by the public. They bring generosity to communities, provide essential services, and embody the compassion and civic spirit of our nation. Because of this special role, governance standards in the sector need to be really clear, reliable, and consistently followed. Good governance should not be seen, as was mentioned, as a burden. Instead, it should be seen as a valuable tool, which I must emphasize must need clear leadership, accurate reporting, and strong accountability. It must also help protect organizations from bad reputations and erosion of institutional integrity. And more importantly, they help build trust with donors, beneficiaries, and partners. When the non-profit sector is viewed as well-regulated, transparent, and accountable, it creates opportunities, making it attractive for funding. It likewise builds strong partnerships and positions the Philippines as a place where charitable work is protected, respected, and most especially trusted. In our connected world, a good reputation is key. International donors and development partners carefully look at how governments run things before giving or even donating their money. A clean, credible, and well-governed non-profit sector shows that the Philippines values taking care of taking things seriously. This reputation benefits not just individual organizations, but the whole country. At the organizational level, using good governance practices in everyday work also makes things run more smoothly. Clear records, clear roles, and open structures cut down on confusion, stop things from being done again and again, and let leaders focus on what they are really supposed to do, and not merely on fixing problems or firefighting. Strong governance isn't just about keeping things safe. It's about helping things grow. wherein organizations can identify potential legal, financial, or operational risks before they escalate into actual crisis. The Philippines SEC is dedicated to working with PCNC and the NPO community to make sure that the rules are clear and easy to follow, because it is the SEC's mission to ensure fair regulation, promote efficient market access, and assure broad stakeholder participation to drive inclusive and sustainable growth for national development. Let us therefore use this webinar to remind ourselves of our shared commitment to being transparent, accountable, and doing great work in the non-profit sector. Your attendance here is precious to our success. I wish all of you a fruitful and enriching experience. Marami pong salamat at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Quevedo. Muli, isang karangalan po sa amin ang makasama kayo ngayong hapon. Maraming salamat. We extend our heartful thanks or gratitude to you and the SEC team. Maraming pong salamat. Okay, so good governance should not be considered as a burden. Sabi nga ni Commissioner, it is our power. No? So, Commissioner, muli, it is an honor to have with you or to have you with us this afternoon. Muli, maraming salamat po. Okay, now, let us meet our first esteemed resource speaker. Muli, send us a heart react or like react if ready na kayo to proceed with our first topic this afternoon. Ayan, sumasabog ang mga puso. Okay, so sana puso lang sa Zoom. Huwag yung actual, no? Alright, now let us meet our first esteemed resource speaker. He is the Assistant Director of the Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, leading the Anti-Money Laundering Division, which oversees AML-CFP regulations for securities, lending, financing, and non-profit sectors, and manages the country's beneficial ownership registry. Deputized as a special prosecutor by the Department of Justice and a financial investigator by the AMLC, he joined the SEC in 2020, rising to head its AML-CFP program. A sought-after speaker at international forums, he has also served as a CP administrator and legal officer of a local government, graft prevention officer at the Department of Finance and legal staff at the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process. He holds undergraduate and master's in public management degrees from Ateneo de Manila University and a Juris Doctor from Arellano University. Ladies and gentlemen, to lead us in the discussion of SEC Memorandum Circular Number 15, Series of 2025, Revised Beneficial Ownership Disclosure Rules, we are privileged to have Attorney Daniel Luis Macalino. Muli, virtual round of applause.
Hello, magandang hapon po sa lahat. Narinig niyo po ako?
Yes po, Attorney.
Okay. At maraming salamat po ulit sa inyong aming pag-imbita ngayong hapon na ito. Ito po ay malaking karangalan para sa amin dito sa SEC to be able to provide some updates sa mga bago po nating rules. Especially ito pong mga bagay na tungkol sa pagkontra na paano po kayo ma-abuse sa money laundering and terrorism financing. So for the first part, ako po ang magbibigay ng ating update and briefing dito sa webinar. And our session will clarify the beneficial ownership rules under the new SEC Memorandum Circular Number 15, Series of 2025 na promulgated po last December lang and took effect January 1, 2026. And we will discuss how it is applicable to you, non-stock and non-profit organizations. So, as said po sa speech ni Commissioner Quevedo, this is really not about policing the NPO or your mission. In fact, the government always would be grateful sa help ng ating non-profit organizations because they can reach yung talagang mga laylayan na hindi rin naaabot ng gobyerno sa dami ng responsibilidad nito. And rather, what we're going to do today is to make sure that you are able to comply well, support in the global fight against money laundering and terrorism financing, and to make sure na make sure that we create an NPO environment in the Philippines that is built on transparency and trust, and make sure that identity and control ng every organization, whether profit or non-profit, have clear, accurate, and are defensible on record. So next slide, please. So ano po ba ang ating gagawin ngayon? By the end of this seminar or webinar, we hope na isa lang yung simple goal to really file yung beneficial ownership declaration ninyo sa SEC. Marami po kasi sa pagkakamali ay galing lang din sa misunderstanding ng ano ba yung konsepto ng ano yung beneficial owner. Especially po na yung non-stock corporation or non-profit organization na iba naman yung kanyang nature sa mga stock corporation or for-profit corporation kung saan po walang shares. So next slide po. So bago po tayo magsimula, kailangan po muna nating tingnan kung ano ba yung risk ng mga korporasyon. Nung nakaraang pong taon, natapos po ng buong Pilipinas, ito po yung mga sangay ng gobyerno na nag-take part sa National Risk Assessment on Money Laundering, Terrorism Financing, Proliferation Financing. Ang ulo po niyan ay ang ating mismong sa Malacanang at pati na rin po sa ang nangasiwa ay ang AMNC kung saan kasama rin po ang iba't ibang sangay ng gobyerno. Tinitignan nila kung ano ba yung ating risk for money laundering, terrorism financing. At marami pong bagay ang inaral dyan. Mula ang ating mga bangko, financial sector, ang ating mga ibang mga provision katulad ng mga lawyers and accountants. At isa po dito itong legal persons. So pag sinabi niyo pong legal persons, ano yung mga tao o mga entity aside sa natural ng mga tao na pwedeng magamit para magbukas ng bangko, magbukas ng korporasyon. At pwedeng magamit as a separate entity aside from the natural or mga normal na stockholders or members or shareholders. Depende po. So, ayon po sa pagsasaliksik natin, pag sinabi niyo po kasing legal persons, magkasama dyan yung lahat ng korporasyon, including yung mga partnership, including one-person corporation. So, pag sinabi mo lahat ng korporasyon, magkasama po ang stock and non-stock. At ang base po sa ating pag-aaral, may nakikitang risk para sa mga legal persons, sa mga korporasyon, para magamit for money laundering, terrorism financing. Bakit siya nagkakaroon ng ganong risk? Ito po yung nakita nila na natural na nandoon sa isang korporasyon kaya pwede siya magamit. Una, relatively madali lang kasi magbukas ng kumpanya. Lalo na ngayon po na digital na, kung maiintindihan lang yung proseso, actually kayang gumawa ng isang korporasyon in a matter of hours, if not minutes. Isa pa, dahil nga ang korporasyon ay hiwalay sa mga stockholder or member nito, o mga officers nito, pwede siyang magamit for potentially para maging anonymous yung mga taong nagpo-control o may-ari nito. And in fact, Dahil doon, pwede rin siya mapasukan ng foreign control na hindi nakikita. So, meron din pong yung nagagamit din siya for complex ownership structures dahil rin nung ating inamendahan ang Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, pwede na maging shareholders ang corporations themselves. So, yun po ang mga bagay na pwede pong magkaroon ng layering among other things. So, ang medyo mas mahirap hanapin kung sino ba talaga yung tunay na may-ari ng mga legal persons. Of course, as far as partnership and non-bank legal arrangement, meron pong limited transparency kasi konti lang rin po yung kanilang compliance. So, based sa ating pag-assess, nakita natin na ang overall sector assessment ng legal persons ay medium-high. And medium-high po dahil kasi ito po dahil mayroong inherent risk and marami rin pong typology sa maraming nakitang kaso na ginagamit talaga mga korporasyon, whether stock or non-stock, for money laundering, terrorism financing. And hindi lang tayo naging high risk dahil kasi meron na rin tayo kahit pa paano mga depensa tungkol doon. At meron rin namang napoprosecute o nahuhuli at napaparusahan. So, sa paggawa kasi ng risk assessment, ano lang rin po yan, titignan din po yung ano po ba yung inherent, yung control, at tignan nyo ano yung, at the end of the day, ano yung net risk niya. So, ang net risk po natin ay medium high. So, next slide po. So, ano po ba yung konteksto kung bakit ginawa yung MC15 series of 2025? No, kung nababantayan nyo po, last December, we promulgated a new MCE on top of the other MCs that were released before. So, the purpose of MC15 series of 2025 is actually to build on ano po yung mga learnings natin with the previous memorandum circulars. It strengthens the BO regime po to require the disclosure of natural persons who ultimately control or influence the organization. And for NPOs, the focus is usually control and influence. So through trusteeship, appointment powers, funding control, operational control, and not necessarily ownership. So, ayun po. Next slide, please. Kung medyo matagal na rin po kayo sa compliance, you would know na itong konsepto ng beneficial owner is no longer parang new into yung ating compliance regime. It has actually progressed over time, and it has been in place even as early as 2019. So, yung current implementation natin. So, from that time, in NC17 noong 2018 and actually implemented in 2019, nagkaroon po tayo ng NC15 na ni-require natin, na pinalitan natin yung Ford and GIS to include BO information. And then, nung MC30 series of 2020, ni-require natin lahat ng foreign corporations na pag-identification mo, hindi lang limited to domestic corporations. And then, nung napasok po tayo sa gray list, nakita ng mga assessors natin na may mga butas pa yung ating sistema dahil kasi hindi natin napabantayan yung mga nominees at nominators. At sabi rin ng FATF, wala tayong ginagawa tungkol sa bearer shares and bearer share warrants. Kahit na hindi naman talaga yun applicable sa atin, pero kailangan maparusahan yung mga papaikot na gano'n. And then, kasama din sa findings nila is yung ating penalty structure or non-compliance ng beneficial ownership ay mahina. Hindi siya dissuasive for non-compliance. So lahat po ng mga yun ay ating pinagsama-sama, inayos, at yan po ang naging batayan ng ating bagong NC15 series of 2025. Ngayon, bakit natin ginawa pa ito NC15 series of 2025? Unang-una, next year, dadaan po ulit tayo sa bagong set of mutual evaluation. So by 2027 up to 2028, we are scheduled once again as a country to be assessed by the Asia Pacific Group on Money Laundering. Whether our rules, regulations, and its implementation are in line or adheres to the FATF recommendation. So hopefully, by the time na mag-end ang 2028, ang mutual evaluation natin by 2028, we will not return to the gray list again. So, itong MC15 series of 2025 is also promulgated to anticipate ano na ba yung mga evolving standards for beneficial ownership. So, next slide please. So, what are the policy objectives of MC15? So this is just to provide you with some context of why. At the end of the day, kaya tayo meron pong beneficial ownership rules is to prevent the misuse of organizations and ensure that accurate ownership and control information is available to competent authorities when they are verifying the legitimacy when necessary. So for you NPOs, this protects donor confidence and protects the organization from reputational harm. So, isa rin po kasi yan sa gusto nating mangyari na to establish that the Philippines can be trusted in terms of yung dealings natin in terms of transparency, diba? Isa po doon is yung hindi tayo babalik sa gray list. Kasi kapag napunta po kasi tayo sa gray list, ang impression po kasi niyan is a country that has weak money laundering and terrorism financing regime. So, kung mamimili po yung mga potential donors or among other organizations, makaka-apekto po yun in a macro or a macro perspective. So, next slide po. So again, in continuation po, yung ating ginagawa is to prevent the misuse of corporate vehicles. Yan naman po ang overall ending niyan. Pagdating ng panahon, hindi na masasabi na ang mga korporasyon ay nagagamit for crime o mahirap siyang gamitin for criminality. At magagawa natin yun sa pag-aayon sa isang FATF Standards of Recommendation 24 to ensure timely access to accurate BO information so that yung SEC and competent authorities can validate who is behind the entity when needed. And of course, it aligns international transparency standards, it strengthens corporate governance, and financial integrity. So, ang example po ngayon, medyo nagiging prominent na po siya ngayon. Although, ever since naman, alam na natin kung paano nagagamit ang corporation for misuse. In fact, in terms of non-profits, nung panahon noon, and this is cited in the World Bank report, nung panahon around a decade ago, in one of the previous administrations, nagamit yung isang foundation sa acronym ng isang former president for misuse or abuse. And that is cited in the World Bank report. So ito, diba? Tapos, years later, nagkaroon naman ng controversy tungkol sa pag-use ng foundations or charitable institutions sa PDAC scandal. So, pwede kasi magamit talaga yung mga corporations. And kasi una, pwede silang magbukas ng mga bank accounts. May sariling bank account ang corporation. So, paano mo mahahabal, paano mo matatrace siya sa talagang someone that deserves accountability. So, ito po yung objective na try natin ma-accomplish dito sa MC or sa beneficial ownership, transparency value. So, next slide po tayo. Okay, next slide. So, what is the scope of our new memorandum circular? Actually, if doon, comparing it from the previous memorandum circular, noon, ang covered lang ay mga corporations that submit the general information sheet. Kasi noon, ang submission ng beneficial ownership information is to the last page ng general information sheet. Ngayon, with the launch of the hardware system, or yung online system natin for submitting, hindi nawala na yung 10th page or yung last page ng GIS kung saan yun lalagay yung beneficial owner. At instead, ina-apply na siya or dinideclare na siya online. So, what is the scope of the new circular? One, it includes domestic and foreign corporations, stock, non-stock, ROHQ, RHQ branches, representative offices, and other licensed entities. So, it also extends the application to partnerships and one-person corporation. Pero meron naman po tayong caveat dyan. Even though that it is extended to partnerships and one-person corporation, unless iba yung beneficial ownership structure mo from the partners or the single stockholder sa one-person corporation, hindi mo naman kailangan mag-submit. Kasi ang ina-assume is yung partners at yung single stockholder, yung beneficial owner. So, also other incorporators, directors, trustees, officers, shareholders, members, and applicants for registration, and other legal entities or arrangements regulated by the SEC. So, for non-stock corporation, if you are a non-stock corporation registered with the SEC, just take note that you are covered also with this requirement. So, even if, kasi di ba sinasabi, wala namang owners talaga yung non-stock corporations. Diba? Pero if you would look at the definition of beneficial owners, even if you do not have owners per se, legal owners per se, you still have individuals who control its governance, direction, and operations. And based on the definition of beneficial owner, those are what the BO categories capture. So, let us discuss ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng beneficial owner para mas maintindihan natin ano ba yung pinagkaiba nito sa legal owner na kasanayan natin maintindihan. So, next slide please. So, according to the rules, and ito po yung in-adapt din natin based on FATF standards, a beneficial owner is a natural person who ultimately owns or controls a corporation, regardless of whose name appears in official records. This is distinct from the concept of legal owner, who may hold shares or positions in name only. So, MC15 adopts a substance over form approach requiring disclosure of true individual exercising ownership or effective control. So, discuss lang po natin, himay-himay natin, for non-profit organizations, beneficial owner is the real person who ultimately controls, not the person whose name essentially appears in the documents. So, hindi masyadong nag-matter yung nalibay ba siya, nakaslista pa siya, nakapangalan ba siya. Pero rather, tinitignan niya kung sino ba yung talagang may control ng organization na yun o kumpanya. So, for NPOs, do not think immediately yung trustees, yung members, but rather, yung someone who ultimately directs decisions or controls the outcomes. So this is the reason why BO or ultimate beneficial ownership is different simply by listing trustees or officers on paper. And although understandably marami ang nagko-comply na nilalagay nila na lang under category ay yung trustees nila. Pero maganda din na tingnan po ninyo kung sino ba talaga yung mag-fit sa mga categories na ng beneficial owner. So, next slide please. So, kapag sinabi natin, when we say beneficial owner, the key word to really take into consideration is yung word na ultimate effective control. If a person has ultimate effective control over the corporation, he or she is a beneficial owner altogether. So, first and foremost, another key important thing to remember is that beneficial owners are always natural persons. So, when you declare the beneficial owner in your declarations, the moment that you declare a corporation as a beneficial owner, or a group, or an association, or someone that is not a natural person, mali na po yun to begin with. Kasi the concept of beneficial owners is always a natural person. So balik po ako dun sa concept ng ultimate effective control. Ang sinasabi po natin na kapag ikaw ay may ultimate effective control sa isang organisasyon, ikaw ay magiging beneficial owner. And ito po, yung ultimate effective control po ay hinahati or nakikita o na-identify dito sa tatlong pamamaraan na ito. Na nagpo-comprise din po ng lahat ng categories ng ating beneficial owners doon sa pag nagde-declare natin pa. So, intindihin po natin. Ikaw po ay may ultimate effective control unang-una kapag ikaw ay controls corporation through yung ownership interest. So, ito naman po para sa non-profit, hindi naman po kasi yan sinasabi natin wala namang ownership interest kasi wala namang pong stock, diba? But then again, under yung category 8 po natin kasi nakasulat din po yung konsepto namin, voting rights. So kung aabot po sa teorya na ikaw po ay may 25% voting rights, kung ganun po ang mangyayari, dapat malista ka rin po under category A. Pero sabihin po natin na wala po tayo talaga makita doon kasi alam naman po natin na bawat isang membro ay may isang boto sa karamihan ng mga non-stock organization. So, kahit po wala po doon, wala po tayong mahanap doon, pwede ka pa rin po maging beneficial owners through ito pong sa pangalawang kategorya, itong mga who may control the corporation through other means. At ito po yung categories B hanggang H ng ating beneficial ownership categories. At lastly, kahit wala ka pong makita doon, pwede ka pa rin dapat po ang i-declare na lang po natin ay yung sino po yung executive control over yung mga yung organisasyon to the positions held within the corporation. So for NPOs, I'd just like to point it out na pwede ninyong tignan is yung usually yung appointment power, operational control, funding control, or influence over trustee decisions as key matters to determine kung sino ba talaga yung beneficial owner ng organization natin. So, next slide po. discuss po natin isa-isa ng mga categories. So dito po, katulad na nasabi ko kanina, under category A, most likely o kalimitan ng mga non-profit organization, hindi nila makita yung applicability nito sa kanya. Kasi it may not apply directly because essentially there are no shares. But it can apply if your NPO is part of a layer structure. So when a natural person holds significant ownership in a parent or related entity, kasi meron naman minsan yung mga foundations na part ng conglomerate, and that entity ultimately controls yung governance. So if yung structure ninyo includes holding entities, federations, and corporate members, so it's not automatic not to assume that category A is irrelevant. So we also should conduct some due diligence to identify the chain. So next slide please. So for category B, it's natural persons who exercise control over the reporting corporation alone or together with others through contract, understanding, relationship, or tiered entity. So pag sinabi po natin yan, for NPOs actually, tignan niyo mabuti ito. Kasi baka nandito kalimitan ng mga beneficial ownership, ang mga beneficial owners ng isang NPO. Kasi for example, ito po kasi ang pinag-iusapan natin, this captures yung control to agreements or relationship. So example is someone effectively dictating the decision because of a funding agreement or a management contract or controlling those roles behind the scene. So kung may control or may say na siya sa organization, dahil kasi siya po ang taga-pondo, yun po dapat i-declare po siya as category 2. Kung pwede nang ma-dictate kung sino yung mga beneficiary, paano na mag-operate yung kumpanya, ano na yung gagawin natin, bibigyan natin, sino yung sisweldohan, sino yung i-hire, na mga magpapatakbo ng organisasyon. So, yan po yung kailangan nyo pong bantayan. So, ang practical test po niyan is if one person can effectively... Sorry, nag-e-echo po yata. So, if one person can effectively steer major decisions, even without formal title, this category will apply. So, next slide po. A natural person having the ability to elect a majority of board of directors or trustees or any similar body of the corporation or the non-profit organization. So, ito po, ang kailangan natin bantayan lang dito is not the ability to elect a single trustee. Kasi kung may ability ka lang mag-elect ng single trustee, hindi naman po yun necessarily control. Ni-exercise nyo lang po yung inyong right as a member. Pero yung kung meron pong arrangement na ikaw ay mapupunta sa isang posisyon to elect majority of the trustees or have them appointed, yun po ay dapat na-declare ka under category C. So, example po is if a founder, family, group, mother organization, or sponsor can appoint or determine most of the trustees to disclose that to the controlling natural person. If the category C may be found common in family foundations or mission organizations with centralized appointment rights. So, ito po, yan po yan sa category C. And ganun po pwede mag-apply yan sa mga non-profits. Next slide po. Next is category C, natural person having the ability to exert dominant influence over the management or policies of the corporation. So when you say dominant influence, it is the one who can shape the organization's direction. So in NPOs, this might be the founder, patron, executive sponsor, or a key figure whose approval is required for strategic decisions. And not necessarily na nandun pa siya sa organization nyo, di siya nakalist as a member, not even a trustee, pero siya pa rin yung tinatanungan. And nakaka-influence siya doon, meron siyang dominant influence. So, even if they are not trustees, they effectively dictate policy direction. So, this category may apply. Next slide, please. Category E, natural persons whose direction, instructions, or wishes in conducting the affairs of the corporation are carried out by the majority of the members of the board of directors of such corporation who are accustomed or under an obligation to act in accordance with such person's directions, instruction, or wishes. So, ito po yung concept ng shadow control, wherein trustees routinely follow one person's directions or instructions. So, if the trustees functions more as a signatory, while another person takes major decisions, so, i-declare po natin yun, itong relationship na to under category E. Sino ba yun yung merong magdidirect ng major decisions? So this category actually protects the organization. It prevents the claims later that the leadership was only on paper. So at least nandun na yun, it's out to be open. Na ito talaga yung nagbibigay ng direction. Next slide please. Category F, natural persons acting as stewards of properties of corporation where such properties are under care or administration of said natural person. So, this is relevant if the natural person effectively controls or administers organizational asset. So, for MPOs, example of this is someone who manage large donation funds, controls the disbursement, administers property, and programs with minimal oversight. So maybe not about accusing anyone, it's actually it's about accurately reflecting actual stewardship and control of the asset. So next please. Category G, natural persons who actually own or control the reporting corporation through nominee shareholders or nominee members, kung meron mang ganun, or nominee directors acting for or on behalf of such natural persons. So, ito, not necessarily, kasi mostly, ito po kasi applicable in the concept of nominee shareholders. Like, if someone is holding a share on behalf of another person, yun po, yun yung concept ng nominees. Pero, tingnan na lang din natin kung baka meron rin pong nag-a-apply na nominee sa inyong organization. And mostly, this is more applicable for shareholders or stock corporations. Next slide, please. Category H, natural persons owning or controlling or exercising ultimate effective control over the corporation through other means not falling under any of the foregoing categories. So this is really a catch-all category if the concept of beneficial owners are not really correctly reflected in the prior categories. So when there's an unusual structure, you can always declare them under category H. And lastly is category I. Natural persons exercising control through positions held within a corporation that is responsible for strategic decisions that fundamentally affect the business practices or general direction of corporations, such as the members of the board of directors or trustees or similar body within the corporation, or exercising executive control over the daily or regular affairs of the corporation through senior management position. So this category is applicable in exceptional cases where no natural person is identifiable who ultimately owns or exerts control over the corporation through reporting corporation having exhausted all reasonable means of identification and provided that there are no grounds for suspicion. So, sa lahat po ng sinabi ko kanina, ang suggestion po namin is to identify if any under your organization, whether they're listed in the papers or not, fall under those categories. If you cannot find anyone, then you can list those that have does the strategic decisions in your organization, or does the executive control, or has some sort of executive control over your organization, such as, for example, yung trustees, because at the end of the day, sila naman kasi yung nagdi-decide kung paano patakbuhin yung organization. So, next slide please. So, ito, nominee arrangement in the disclosure, we will just move past it kasi this is more applicable in stock organizations. So, next slide, please. Okay, now, yan. Filing requirements and timeline. So, one of the requirements under the new rules in MCB 15 series of 2025 is we changed yung filing timelines for the declaration of beneficial owners in consideration of the new harbor system. So, kasi, and of course, yung declaration sa East Park. So, with the digitalization effort of the SEC, yung registration ngayon is fully online. And yung submission ng GIS is submitted electronically. So, ang next step dyan is yung submission ng BO is now made digitally. So, we try to eliminate certain redundancies to at least reduce the burden and to make sure na hindi na paulit-ulit yung ginagawa over the years as far as PO is concerned. So, entities within the effectivity of the circular are filing their initial beneficial ownership declaration. Nandun na po yun sa application form sa East Park. May part po doon. Naggagawa sila ng initial BO declaration. And then, once they are scheduled to file their GIS, doon na rin po sila magpa-file ng first time nila through the harbor system. And after makapag-file po sa harbor system, essentially, kung hindi man nagbago yung beneficial owners nyo throughout the years, identify beneficial owners throughout the years, i-validate nyo na lang po yun every year. So, hindi nyo na po kailangan i-type po ulit or i-submit ulit. Ipapakita na lang po yun sa inyo, ipa-flash po si beneficial owner on record, and if sila po pa rin, i-accept nyo na lang po sila. Pero, kung meron mga pagbabago, within 7 days, dapat i-update na rin yung harbor system. Sasabihin mo nagbago yung beneficial owner, either may napalitan, may natanggal, or may nadagdagan. So, yun po. Next slide po. Bago rin po in our system is yung attestation and authentication procedures. Una, panigitan or ito po kasing mga technological innovation na ginagawa ng SEC are also born out of yung mga learnings din ng SEC throughout the years. And in fact, even though of course may birth pains yung shifting to fully digital, meron rin po talaga kasing purpose yan. Una, if hindi nyo po, or if nababantayan nyo po, nung panahon na inimbestigahan yung Pogo, yung mga Pogo, mayroon pong lumabas na controversy doon na apparently yung PIN number ng isang tao is nanakaw. Tapos, yung PIN number na yun, pinambukas niya ng 100 na corporations. Tapos na-issuean siya ng PIR, ng assessment letter sa marami doon sa mga corporation yun. Tapos sinasabi niya na hindi ako yan. So whether totoo yun o hindi, that's another discussion altogether. Pero very, very much at risk na rin talaga tayo ngayon with this innovation in terms of identity theft and yung mga hacking among other things. So to protect the data, ito po, dito tayo nag-i-introduce ng mga authentication measures such as yung sa insecure, yung verification, among other things. Para sigurado rin tayo na yung corporation na nag-submit ng BO data sa harbor system o sa system ng SEC will be the person na talagang authorized na mag-submit noon. Hindi rin tayo magkakaroon ng instances na someone will be declaring something for someone na hindi nila authorized. So, yun yung mga bagay na kailangan natin asikasuhin. Dito po, we use that through technology. Kasi sa dami po ng mga corporations na yan, kanina sinabi yung Commissioner Quevedo, almost 100,000 non-profits organization, non-stock corporation. Kung titignan po yun sa corporation, it's almost 600,000. Yan. Almost 600,000. So, kung iisa-isayin nyo po yan, hindi rin efficient para sa gobyerno na isa-isayin ang review. So, paano po? So, gagamit po tayo ng technology. Yan po ang ating movement forward. So, at the same time, yung reliability kasi ng data, it's also a FATF standard. So, pagdating po ng, tulad po na nasabi ko po sa data evaluation next year, titignan din nila kung ano ba yung measures na ginawa ng bansa to ensure na the data nila on record a certain level of confidence to ensure na hindi naman mapagkakatiwalaan natin kahit pa paano. Of course, syempre, marami rin yung pwedeng defects or mga issues at ina-address naman natin yan. Yun yung unti-unti yung ating. So, next slide po. So, with that, yung having said that, dito po natin i-launch yung konsepto ng harbor. Alam niyo po kasi yung kapag nagsasubmit kayo ng anything sa mga government offices, at least from the perspective namin dito sa anti-money laundering. Ayaw naman po namin na nagsasubmit kayo ng data tapos yung mga data na yun, store na lang sa warehouse, hinihingan kayo pero para naman sa walang katuturan o wala rin patutunguhan. So, ang purpose po ng harbor system is to create a centralized registry integrating with existing systems to facilitate validation, ensuring accurate and accessible beneficial ownership data for compliance and enforcement purposes. So dahil digital na po yan, mas madali pong maka-analyze ang SEC, mas madali rin ma-verify with existing systems such as sa BIR, among other things. So, next slide po. So, as far as data encoding framework, ito po yung hinihingi doon sa mga declaration for beneficial owners. Kasi according po sa ating mga users, yung mga talagang gagamit ng data, ito yung mga kailangan nila. So, full legal name, including English and local name, and transliteration where applicable. O kunyari, meron pong mga names with foreign or other characters, meron rin pong English name na kung foreign name po, foreign characters. Specific residential address, text at birth, PIN po sa mga Pilipino, at kung foreigner naman po, pwede na yung passport number. Oops, nawala po yung slide ko. Hintayin lang po natin na pasensya na po. Makabalik yung share na slide.
The recording has stopped.
Ayun po. So, bakit po hinihingi yan? So, at the end of the day, hinihingi po yan.
This meeting is being recorded.
To ensure accurate identification, record consistency, and para po may reliable verification of beneficial owners, yung mga gagamit po ng data. So, kung makikita niyo po, it will be in the best interest ng corporation to declare correctly. Kasi if magkakaroon po kasi ng misdeclaration or false declaration, ay ma-attribute po yung wrongdoing to a different person, to a wrong person. Diba? And ayaw naman po natin yung nangyari yun sa ibang tao. So, next slide po. So, meron po tayong QR code verification process. So, isa rin po sa innovation ng pagsasubmit digitally is pwede nyo nang downloadin yung BO forms ninyo with the QR code. So, hindi na rin po kailangan magpa-certified true copy pa kayo sa SEC para masigurado or masabi na galing sa SEC yun. Kasi yung QR code po na yan, yung nada-download po yung file ninyo sa hardware system, may digital signature ng SEC. So, madaling ma-verify na galing sa SEC data yan. So, actually, isa sa mga nagawa natin is noon hirap pa na, or medyo may steps pa, may pagdadaanan ka pa para humingi lang ng certified true copy sa SEC. Kasi rin naman po, kaya po may proseso pa, sinisigurado rin naman po namin na hindi namin i-release itong mga data na to na confidential sa kung sino-sino lang. Baka mamaya makakos kayo ng problema o baka mamaya may away pala within the organization. So sinisigurado namin na nare-release lang sa authorized na kumuha ng data. So kaya hihingan pa ng ID, hihingan pa ng letter request, at among other things. I-release lang yan sa authorized na makatanggap. So with this, kayo po, since verified na po kayo through the eSecure, may assumption na po na authorized kayong mag-file and even mag-download. So, pwede na yun, i-download nyo na lang from the system itself. So, yung next slide po. So, access control measures. So, yun po, still at this point in time, beneficial owners is still confidential. So, it includes sensitive personal data, so access to it is controlled. So, in pursuit of public mandate, it's only made available to competent authorities or government agencies in pursuit of their legitimate mandate. And in some way, it will also be made available to yung ating mga covered institutions under the AMLA, such as banks, financial institutions, among others, na nagkakandak ng KYC or Know Your Customer. Kasi sila po ay agency ng government to ensure na hindi po papasok ang dirty money sa ating financial system. Pero all of those are covered with a stringent protection na kailangan mag-adhere sila sa mga measures na ini-implement or sinasabi under the Data Privacy Act. So next slide. So enforcement powers under MC-15. So ngayon na, di ba sinasabi natin na self-declaration. So paano natin ma-ensure kung sino na lang natin i-declare, di ba? Well, it will be in the best interest talaga ng organization to declare its true beneficial owners. Kasi they don't want itself to be caught up in future enforcement actions that would compromise the organization moving forward. In line with the Financial Action Task Force recommendation, sabi nila na dapat ang beneficial ownership, violation of beneficial ownership rules should be considered as serious infraction. And with that, noon nagsimula lang yung unang penalty structure ng SEC is parang fine lang siya for non-compliance. Nag-release tayo, sabi nila hindi pwede yun. So sabi nila dapat it would be dissuasive for corporations to misdeclare their beneficial owners. So dahil po doon, we have to make sure that declaring BO is not just optional. It's really the Commission has the enforcement tools to ensure that corporations comply. So next slide, please. So according to our mechanism, and actually ano na lang naman to this is also almost the same as yung previous MC10, administrative fine on corporations can lead to a penalty of up to 2 million pesos. Of course, for non-profits, makikita ninyo, mas maliit yan. Yung non-disclosure penalties natin is half na makukuha ng mga stock corporations. But then again, mabigat pa din. So, continued non-compliance will accrue daily fines, and there can also be a separate liability for directors, trustees, and officers, including separate fines and possible disqualification. So, aside from that, aside from fines and penalties, and a separate penalty for the directors and trustees, non-financial sanctions such as suspension and revocation and dissolution may also be imposed on organizations that have failed to declare. So, aside from that, there can, on top of that pala, criminal prosecution may also be pursued by competent authorities for the misdeclaration. So, yun po kasi dapat to ensure proper compliance and adherence, dapat medyo mabigat yung sanctions. And of course, at the end of the day, all of this will undergo due process. So, next slide, please. So So to finish, we will show you some video about their board to guide you about how to comply with the new system.
There is now a new way to submit your beneficial ownership information. Starting January 30th, 2026, beneficial ownership disclosures will be made through a secure web-based registry. Presenting the Hierarchical and Applicable Relations and Beneficial Ownership Registry, or HARBOR, the SEC's new online system for beneficial ownership disclosures. HARBOR is implemented pursuant to SEC Memorandum Circular Number 15 Series of 2025, which strengthens beneficial ownership reporting to help ensure information is accurate, complete, and up-to-date. In this video, we'll guide you step-by-step on how to create and submit a beneficial ownership declaration using HARBOR. To access HARBOR, head to harbor.sec.gov.ph. Filers must have the same eFast and eSecure account to proceed. Log in using your account under the Electronic SEC Universal Registration Environment or eSecure. Don't have an eSecure account yet? You can register today by watching the step-by-step eSecure tutorial through this link or by scanning the QR code on your screen. Once logged in, you will be directed to the dashboard where you can create and submit a beneficial ownership declaration. To begin, click Create Application on the upper right corner of your screen. An instruction pop-up will appear. Please read the instructions, then scroll down to enable the OK button. Click OK to start your application. The BO declaration form has 5 sections. Basic details.
Dagan kayo sila nag-view ay.
Specific residential address.
Lang remarks.
Contact information, and ownership.
Oh.
Start with the basic details.
Ay, maputol eh. Sige lang.
Here's
Ay, ma'am, na-account no? Ay,
2019
Hindi mo lang may ganay.
available. Next,
Pero
select
ako,
corporate name.
palo nga na mo.
Only corporations linked to the filer's CPAS account will appear in the list. Once you select
Sige,
corporation,
para
the SEC
ma-casting ko.
registration number, filing type, and company type will automatically populate. If the year and corporate name match an existing declaration, the
Camera
system
ni
will
mo.
tag the filing type as amendment. Otherwise,
Okay
it will
naman
be
yan.
treated as an
Iyan lang.
original filing. Next, fill out the personal details.
Sige.
Next,
Iyon,
complete
lahat.
the personal details of the beneficial owner. For Filipino beneficial owners, enter the full name, date of birth, gender at birth, civil status, and tax identification number.
Sige, akong
You must also
huli na
indicate
niyo.
whether the beneficial owner is a politically exposed person or PEP, meaning a person who holds or has previously held a prominent
Guys,
position.
20 ka book
For foreign beneficial owners, select nationality and enter the English name. It will remain the same as English name. Now provide the beneficial owner's residential address. For Filipino beneficial owners, select the region first. This will filter the available options for province, city or municipality, and barangay. If applicable, you may also provide details such as street name, building name, subdivision or village, unit number, and zip
Shut
code.
down naman day ko.
For foreign beneficial owners, select the country, enter the address in the address list provided. Next is contact information. Enter a valid email address. Mobile and landline numbers are optional, but highly encouraged. Finally, complete the ownership details section.
Isilog niya.
Enter the
Ay, end na
activity
na.
date. This is the date when the individual became a beneficial owner.
Oh, na-endlog.
Then select all applicable categories of beneficial ownership from category
Wala.
A on to the right category.
Sige daw,
Please
sulod
refer
na
to
ni.
SEC Memorandum Circular Number 15, Series of 2025.
Na-end man.
Category A. Category A applies to natural persons who directly or indirectly own at least 20% of the voting rights, voting
Dili ka
shares,
sulod.
or capital of the reporting corporation. For Category A, you must also indicate whether the beneficial owner is the direct or indirect owner.
Iyop
If
na.
direct, enter the total ownership rights. If indirect, the system will allow you to declare ownership through related companies. For domestic corporations, provide the SEC registration number and the related corporation's percentage ownership. For foreign entities, tick the foreign company checkbox and enter the corporate name. You may add additional rows.
Sunod
if
ako
needed.
magamana, oy.
Once completed, don't forget to click Save. Beneficial owners of non-stock corporations may provide percentage of total voting rights, if any. Other categories. For categories B to I, provide the ownership or voting rights percentage only if applicable. Please remember
Saan
that
man eh?
beneficial owner may fall under multiple categories, and all applicable categories must be disclosed. Once all required fields are complete, click Submit. An attestation clause will then appear, confirming that the information you provided is true, correct, and complete. Tick the checkbox to indicate your agreement and click Submit to proceed with the application. After submission, a verify through email modal will be displayed. This will inform you that your beneficial ownership declaration has been tentatively submitted and must be authenticated through the ESAP to complete the filing. A confirmation email containing the authentication link will be sent to your registered email address. Please check your inbox, including your spam or junk folder, and follow the instructions provided. Once authentication is completed, please allow up to 5 to 10 minutes for the application status to be updated. You may proceed with the GIS submission only after the status changes to completed. If you do not intend to submit the GIS, you may exit the system. Next, open your company's registered email address. Locate the SEC email and click the authentication link provided. This will redirect you to the ESAP where you will authenticate your submission. After successful authentication, allow up to 5 to 10 minutes for the status to refresh. To view the application, click the SEC registration number. If you wish to download a selected beneficial ownership declaration form, click the download button located on the right side of the screen. Please note that the form can only be downloaded once it has been authenticated. Alternatively, clicking the SEC registration number will open a web view of the beneficial ownership declaration form. From there, click the download form button at the top right corner of the dashboard to begin your download. And that's it! You have successfully submitted your beneficial ownership declaration through Harbor. Please note that Harbor is integrated with the SEC's Electronic Filing and Submission Tool, or EFAS, so filers may also access and link their beneficial ownership submissions through the EFAS filing process. If there are any changes in your corporation's beneficial ownership information, you may update your submission by filing an amendment through the amendment tutorial available through this link or QR code. Through Harbor, corporations are no longer required to resubmit the same beneficial ownership information each year if there are no changes. Instead, filers only need to revalidate previously submitted information. This applies only to corporations that file their GIS through EFAS. Please note, any changes to beneficial ownership information must be reported to the SEC within 7 days through an amendment filing. Beneficial ownership disclosures strengthen corporate transparency, promote good governance, and help prevent the misuse of corporate structures for illicit activities. For more information and updates, visit www.sec.gov.ph and follow the SEC's official social media pages.
Ayan. Attorney Daniel? Okay po, meron pa po ba tayong additional insights? Thank you.
Okay na po. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, let's give Attorney Daniel a virtual round of applause. Okay, maraming salamat po for your questions. We will address them later sa ating question and answer portion. So please, if you have any questions, kindly send them sa ating chat box. Alright, and we will read them mamaya, or we will address them during, once again, our open forum. Alright. So, with that, let us now proceed to our next topic. Okay, by the way, you are free to take health breaks, okay, in between the topics.